Good morning, everybody. It's Brian. Hope you're doing well today. It is, what is today? Tuesday? Yeah, I think it's Tuesday. Tuesday the 7th of July. And just here for a quick live class. Gonna run through what I'm looking at this morning, talk about key levels, talk about some things that happened yesterday, and just psychologically, some psychological stuff that got in the way of trades yesterday that hopefully you guys can learn from if I share it with you. So anyway, let's start over here. We're going to start with forex. We'll head over to the future side of things, and then we'll finish on crypto. So let's begin here with forex and have a look at what's moving for the day. And the pound, man, coming into this U.S. session, the pound, this is an M5 chart looking at currency strength, is certainly the strongest of our currencies. So when we look at the 8 majors, the pound has definitely got the most momentum behind it. It's being pretty heavily bought. What can we pair it against? There's a few things we might be looking at to pair it against here. Certainly as this new, as this 5-minute session closes, we're going to see a reset kind of the currency strength lines here, but the pound will still be a strong currency. But what to pair it against? Potentially the pound, potentially the CAD, potentially the USD, potentially the yen. There's a few to look at here that are diverging pretty heavily from the pound, even the Aussie for that matter. So there's a lot of things that we might want to pair against the pound. So as we do that, the things I'm looking at over here to potentially pair against it, I'm considering what, how much everything has presently moved in relation to how it would typically move. And if I look across the board here, I can look at the pound and the CAD, which isn't really great considering the CAD's above the midpoint. But if you look at the pound CAD, it's moved 90 pips today. Average is anywhere from 120 to 130. Look at the pound yen, which has got some really nice divergence. That one's moved 91 pips on an average of about 120 to 150. So could those move that additional 20 pips we needed to move? I think that's looking pretty good as a potential opportunity there. So I'm going to go ahead and park a buy order at the top of that breakout box there, and if we can break above this, potentially we've got enough momentum to carry through and push that on for us. So I'm looking here at the top of this box to see if it breaks through, it'll fill us, and then potentially carry that on. So just to pair that up with what we're seeing over here, it looks like this. So we're playing off of that really big divergence between the pound and the yen to see if that movement continues. Now again, we don't know what's going to happen. Coming into this, we've had really nice divergence. It definitely has room to continue moving, but does it mean it will? No. Does not mean it will continue moving. We don't know what's going to happen from here. It may not even get up to the top to touch it in. It may just reverse from there and come back down, and we just simply don't have a trade. That's fine. Other things to consider for the day, by the way, there are other currencies that typically have wider ranges that really haven't moved at all today. If we look at the euro, like the euro is a weaker currency. It's flat. It's below the midpoint, but it's flat over here. And there's some divergence between the euro and the yen as well. If we look at that euro yen, it's only moved 40 pips, 38.9 pips for the day. And its typical range is a little higher. It's anywhere from 85 to 100. If we saw a little more momentum on one of these, that could be a potential trade opportunity for us as well. And then looking onto the CAD versus the yen, it's only moved 25 pips for the day. It's only moved 25 pips and average is about 80. So potentially some other opportunity there elsewhere, if that pound versus the yen doesn't continue to move. But that's the one that I'm initially leading off with, though, for the day, just simply because of this nice divergence that we're seeing here now. So, well, not just the divergence. We've got the divergence. We've got the fact that the range is not quite, quote, ranged out. And we've also got the fact that our volume detail is moving in the right direction as well. So all those things line up we'll go ahead and take the chance to see what happens with that trade. All right, next up, so let's move over to here. No, here. Yes, there we go. All right, so over to this screen. What are we seeing for the day over here? Well, kind of coming into maybe a little bit of a mixed bag. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, no one knows what's going to happen. S&P, is going to open down from where it had its close yesterday. So we're going to open lower. This is where I got a little caught up yesterday. S&P stayed in the U.S. session in really about a 15-point range yesterday. It just did not move at all. Definitely, if we scroll back to an M5 over here, definitely there were ample opportunities, based on that pullback, especially as we came back to this key level of the 3155, 3157 area. As we pulled back to there were ample opportunities to trade long off of that, which was the direction of the day. The 4-hour and the 30-minute were both in agreement for looking for long trades. I really got caught up on this, waiting for it to break down. So there's a mistake where I always talk about don't let your personal bias lead what you're trading. Your trade should be based on something quantifiable. So there are great opportunities based on the plan that we talk about here to trade long, and because I had this mental bias waiting for it to, I don't know why, just my brain convinced me it was going to break down through that area, and so I didn't have the opportunity to take advantage of those trade setups. It happens. We've got to just simply accept that and move on, right? So today's a new trading day. Shake it off, like the Taylor Swift song, right? Shake it off. So we're going to shake it off and come back in for the new day, see what it has to offer for us. So I'm sharing that with you because I hope you can learn from it. It's something that we're all going to do. We're all human, and we have to be able to accept the fact that sometimes we're going to let that bias creep in, and if we do, so be it. We accept that we let our personal emotion drive something as opposed to waiting for quantifiable data based on our charts, which is where we need to be. We need to have quantifiable reasons for why we are doing what we're doing. Let me pull this back over here. So anyway, with that said, right now, coming into the regular trading hours, which will be about hour and a half from now, hour and 24 minutes from now. We've got the 4-hour that's still a long bias. Our 30-minute technically is still a long bias as well. If this pulls back a little bit more and closes below, this will switch. But right now, technically, our 30-minute is on a long bias as well until that changes. Now, you might be using just a solid 50 moving average or something, and in that case, you've probably got a different look at it. But for what I'm looking at, with my moving averages, technically here, bias is long, so we'd be looking for long trades until this flips. If this continues to push down and our 30-minute flips over, we'll have conflicting bias, and then that means, for me, it means don't do anything, until we have a new confirmed bias, one direction or the other. But for right now, if all things stay as they are, the bias is actually long, so we'd be looking for long opportunities. What does that look like for us? Well, it could look like a couple of different things. One would be a breakout. So if we break back above this 3155, if we push above that, that'd be a breakout, so we could look to go long on a break of that. We could also wait for pullbacks, and if we have these lower highs and lower lows, we could look to either set it at the top of that 30-minute candle and buy off of that, or we could time it based on a 5-minute, and as we pull back, we could be timing it based on the top of that previously closed lower high on an M5 on a 5-minute chart. So there's a few different ways to go about it, but until the big thing here is to keep your eye on what's actually happening with whatever you use to measure the directional bias. And in my case, we're looking for longs until this flips over and until this crosses. So if we pull back here a little bit more prior to the start of the regular trading hours, and this crosses over, then that's just the indication to sit on our hands, which is where we are with crude and gold, by the way. 30-minute bias is conflicting with the 4-hour on crude, and the 30-minute bias is conflicting with the 4-hour on gold as well. So nothing to do on either of those. So we're gonna just kind of hang out and not make any rash decisions until something happens that we can trade on. Moving over to crypto, I actually can't do crypto for you today. I'm working on that process, the automated trading process, just to get things sorted out there and see how that looks. Kind of utilizing the same plan that we've talked about here in class. So I say class in these live sessions. So I don't want to pull up the crypto stuff because that'll mean I'll have to stop what I'm doing here. But ultimately, right now, just kind of going through the numbers, looking to optimize a little bit of what it's doing, trading hours and everything. There's still going to have to be some manual intervention with it once I'm ready to roll this out to you guys. The manual intervention being, around news, got high impact news. Probably not going to trade it, right? We don't want it just to wildly do whatever it does and take these breakouts on false, volume and false momentum movements around news. So there's going to still have to be some manual intervention for it. But for right now, I'm just kind of going through, making sure it works the way I think it should work or expect it to work. Optimizing times of day. And then I'm going to test it for a little while just to make sure, again, that it actually is taking the trades and doing what it's supposed to do. And then from there, if it's set up and doing what it's supposed to do, I'll let you guys start working with the beta testing it as well. So yeah, that's where we are. So not a whole lot to really worry about today. Crude and gold, mixed bias, S&P. As I mentioned yesterday, let my own personal bias override what should have been happening here on the charts based on the trading plan that we've laid out. Today, technically right this moment, 4-hour and 30-minute are still both long. However, if we continue pulling back a little bit prior to the start of the regular trading hours and that 30-minute flips, then we just don't have anything to do at all for the day. We did talk about, over here in forex, we talked about the pound versus the yen, and we put a little trade on there, but still waiting to see if that has the momentum to break the top of that channel. If it does, we'll be in. If it doesn't, then we'll shut that trade down and we just simply won't have anything for the day. But we'll let it all play out, see how it goes, and roll from there. So that's it for me for now. You guys have any questions, let me know. I'm always happy to interact and help you out. If you want me to look at your trading plan and poke holes in this or give you some feedback, I'm happy to do that. Just communicate with me. You can reach me through Facebook over here where you're watching this, or you can shoot a message over to support@makemoneyfromyourlaptop.com, and I'll help you out as best I can. So anyway, that's it. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.